My blood ran cold as Fiona slid each glossy photograph across the polished oak dining table. The images showed me, head tilted, hand occasionally brushing an arm, smiling and interacting with different men in cafes and restaurants around Brighton. The sharp gasp from my mother-in-law, Marian Clarke, cut through the suddenly stifling room. "Look at these," Fiona said, her voice dripping with feigned concern as she turned to my husband. "Well, Ethan has been working himself to exhaustion. She's been running around town with other men." She laid a hand on his shoulder, standing uncomfortably close, while Olivia Grant, the woman he had been seeing for months, remained silently at his other side. Fiona's eyes sparkled with triumph as she delivered her final blow. "Now, you don't need to feel guilty about Olivia, and you certainly don't have to give Lee anything in the divorce. My name is Leah Harper. I'm 29, and this is the story of how I turned my husband's family's betrayal into a lesson they would never forget." The family I had devoted 6 years to hovered over the photos like vultures. Marian picked one up with trembling fingers, her voice breaking with practiced disappointment. "Lee, how could you? We welcomed you into our family." Her words would have cut deeply once, but now I observed her performance with clinical detachment. "What do you have to say for yourself?" Fiona demanded, one hand on her hip, the other dramatically pointing at the evidence spread before everyone. I took a deliberately slow sip of water, my gaze moving across the table. Ethan still wouldn't meet my eyes. His parents looked appropriately devastated, though I noticed his father, Victor Clarke, seemed more uncomfortable than angry. Fiona stood tall, radiating self-righteousness. "Nice pictures," I said calmly. "The lighting is excellent. You must have paid your investigator a small fortune." Fiona's triumphant smile faltered. This wasn't the tearful denial she had rehearsed. "That's all you have to say," she snapped. "You're not even going to deny it." I reached into my purse, feeling the tension in the room as everyone waited for tears or a desperate confession. Instead, I placed my tablet on the table, its screen dark and reflective against the wood. Why would I deny it? My friends in these photos are all divorce lawyers. The silence that followed was complete. "What?" Fiona stammered, her composure cracking. I pointed to each photograph deliberately. "That's Nathan Wells, the top family lawyer in Brighton. This is Caleb Price. His firm specializes in infidelity cases. And this dinner, that's Lucas Reed, who handles cases where people try to hide assets before a divorce." Fiona's face went pale. Ethan suddenly found his water glass fascinating. "When I discovered Ethan and Olivia 4 months ago," I continued, "I made sure to prepare properly." "You're lying," Fiona said, but her certainty had vanished. I activated my tablet, revealing emails and signed agreements. The beauty of legal consultations is that everything is documented. I scrolled slowly through the files, but that's not even the most interesting part. I added, finally meeting Ethan's gaze. "What do you mean?" Marian asked, her voice trembling. "Well," I said, "during one of these meetings, I learned something fascinating about recent property transfers in this family. Money, houses changing hands, new companies being formed." I let the implications hang in the air. Victor shifted uncomfortably. Ethan frowned, turning to his father. "Dad, is that why you had me sign those papers 2 months ago? You said it was just routine family business." Realization dawned on his face. His family hadn't just been enabling him. They were systematically hiding assets before the divorce. "Ethan, sweetheart, we were just protecting you," Marian began. "Actually," I cut her off, "you were committing fraud." I smiled thinly. "And my lawyers have documented everything." Fiona sank into a chair, the architect of her perfect trap caught in her own snare. "You knew," she whispered. "You knew this whole time." I nodded, gathering my belongings. "Next time you hire an investigator, make sure they aren't working for both sides." I stood smoothing my dress. Oh, and Ethan, your lawyer will receive the paperwork tomorrow. You might want to read it carefully, especially the part about fraud. At the door, I turned back to Fiona. Thanks for the photos. They make excellent evidence. My heels clicked like a metronome as I walked out. Only once I reached my car did I allow myself a small, private smile. They thought they had trapped me, but they had no idea what was coming. The following days were chaos. My phone buzzed constantly with messages from Ethan's family, threats mixed with tearful pleas. Fiona alternated between rage and panic, her texts growing increasingly desperate. You can't do this to us, we're family. Her latest message read. That word family lingered in my mind. They hadn't treated me like family when they planned to leave me with nothing. I archived her message and focused on my preparations. Nathan Wells' law office projected the authority he intended: gleaming wood, supple leather chairs, and an atmosphere of quiet command. I reviewed documents in the conference room while waiting for the others. Right on schedule, Ethan arrived with his lawyer, followed by Marian and Victor. Fiona trailed behind, attempting confidence but failing visibly. Mrs. Harper, Nathan Wells greeted me with a professional nod. Shall we begin? I watched Ethan's expression as Nathan methodically laid out our evidence. He paled noticeably when the timeline appeared: every suspicious property transfer, every hastily formed company, every deliberate attempt to conceal money. Marian clutched her arm when Nathan mentioned potential criminal charges. This is nonsense, Ethan's lawyer protested. These were just normal family business decisions. Were they? I asked, sliding forward a neat stack of documents. Because these records show my name was removed from family business assets exactly 4 months ago, right when Ethan began his affair. Quite a coincidence, don't you think? Victor shifted uncomfortably. He had always been the weakest link, too concerned about social appearances to risk a public scandal. Nathan continued calmly, we're prepared to be reasonable. Mrs. Harper helped build this family's success. She simply wants her fair share. Fair share, Fiona snapped. She's trying to ruin us. I turned to her, keeping my composure. No, Fiona, I'm protecting what I helped create. I paused. Would you like me to play the recording of you and Ethan discussing how to prevent the gold digger from getting anything? Her face went white. Ethan's head snapped up. You recorded us. No. I replied calmly. Your mistress did. Olivia was quite helpful once I showed her proof that you planned to discard her, too. Once I revealed the evidence, the room erupted. Marian dissolved into tears. Victor demanded to speak with his personal lawyer. Fiona screamed about betrayal. Through it all, I sat quietly, watching Ethan realize how completely he had been outmaneuvered. Here's what's going to happen, Nathan said over the chaos, his voice commanding immediate attention. We have documented evidence of attempted fraud. We can pursue this criminally or reach a reasonable settlement today. The choice is yours. Ethan's lawyer huddled with him in the corner. I could see the fight drain from Ethan's body. Always arrogant, convinced of his own cleverness, he now looked hollowed out. We'll agree to fair terms, his lawyer finally announced. Excellent. Nathan smiled. Mrs. Harper has already outlined her requirements. He handed out copies of my settlement proposal. I had been thorough but not vindictive. I wanted only what I had helped build, nothing more. This is outrageous, Marian exclaimed. But Victor placed a restraining hand on her arm. Sign it, Ethan, he said quietly. We can't risk this getting out. As Ethan picked up the pen, Fiona made one last desperate attempt. Wait, those photos, they were in public places. She was flaunting these meetings. I laughed softly. Of course they were public. I wanted you to see them. Every lunch, every coffee meeting you had me followed. I just made sure your investigator captured exactly what I wanted you to see. The realization that they had been played at their own game finally silenced them. One by one, The documents were signed. As Nathan gathered the paperwork, I stood to leave. "Lee," Ethan called, his voice strangely subdued. "When did you get so calculating?" I paused at the door. I learned from the best, didn't I? Family taught me. The irony wasn't lost on anyone in the room. Walking out of the office, I felt lighter than I had in months. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about winning. It's about showing them they underestimated you all along. Outside, the autumn air was crisp and clean. My phone buzzed with a message from Olivia. "It's done. Thank you for showing me the truth about him." I smiled, remembering how easily Ethan's mistress became my once I proved his pattern, promises, and plans to discard her like he had tried with me. Sometimes the strongest alliances come from unexpected places. Driving home, I thought about family, not the one that had betrayed me, but the one I would build for myself on my own terms. 6 months later, I sat on the balcony of my new apartment, sipping coffee and watching Brighton wake. Morning sunlight cast long shadows across my newly furnished living room, highlighting the fresh start I had created. My phone buzzed with a text from Olivia. Despite everything, we had maintained an unlikely friendship. "You won't believe who I just saw at Riverside Cafe." Fiona tried to pretend she didn't see me. I smiled, recalling how thoroughly the family had unraveled after our meeting. Their carefully constructed facade of perfect family business had cracked under the weight of their own schemes. Victor had retired early, citing health concerns, but everyone knew it was to avoid gossip at his country club. Marian threw herself into charity work, desperately trying to maintain social standing. Fiona perhaps faced the harshest reality check. Her role in the attempted fraud had cost her position in the family company. Last I heard, she was working as a junior accountant at a small firm, a significant step down from her former executive title. My phone rang. "Nathan Wells." "Lee," he greeted warmly. "Just wanted to let you know the last of the transfers are complete. Everything's officially settled. Thank you, Nathan," I replied. "You know," he said thoughtfully, "in all my years practicing law, I've never seen someone handle betrayal with such strategic precision. Ever thought of a career change?" I laughed. His words resonated. In Outmaneuvering Ethan and his family, I discovered strength, cunning, and the ability to anticipate several moves ahead. Later, I met Laura, my closest friend, for lunch. She'd been my rock, one of the few who knew the whole story from the start. "Have you heard?" she asked. "Ethan's been demoted. Some of his decisions during the divorce drama didn't sit well with the board." I shook my head. "Not surprising. He always thought he was smarter than everyone else." "How's the new venture going?" Laura asked. After the settlement, I had used part of my funds to start a consulting firm, helping women navigate complex divorces and financial disputes. "We're expanding," I said proudly. "Opened a second office last week." Laura grinned. "From being blindsided by betrayal to running your own empire. Who would have thought?" I reflected on the woman I'd been a year ago, trusting, naive, believing in family loyalty above all else. That woman was gone, replaced by someone stronger, wiser, but not bitter. I was grateful for the lessons learned. My phone buzzed again. A text from Marian. "I miss you. The family isn't the same without you." I archived it. Some bridges once burned shouldn't be rebuilt. That evening, reviewing applications for my firm's mentorship program, I reflected on life's changes. The family that tried to destroy me had inadvertently set me free. Their attempts to leave me with nothing pushed me to become more than I had imagined. The doorbell rang. Olivia arrived with a bottle of wine. Our monthly catch-ups had become a tradition. "To Karma," she said, raising her glass, settling on my couch. "David's dating someone new. Poor girl has no idea what she's getting into. Should we warn her?" I asked, half joking. Olivia laughed. She'll figure it out. Besides, I hear she's clever with computers. Maybe she'll catch on faster than we did. We shared a knowing look. Sometimes the best revenge isn't getting even. It's moving forward while watching karma at work. As the sun set over Brighton, casting an orange glow through my windows, I felt at peace. The family that tried to write me off as naive had taught me the most valuable lesson. Never underestimate someone with nothing left to lose. My new life wasn't built on revenge or bitterness. It was built on wisdom, strength, and knowing that the worst betrayals often lead to the best beginnings. I raised my glass to the setting sun, silently thanking them for showing me exactly who I could become. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about becoming better,